Dude, they did it again. They went to overtime, and they won it in overtime again. We won this game 2-1 over the Carolina Hurricanes in Game 2. And what my worry was, and I'm sure a lot of us were, making these jokes, say, hey, it's going to go up until 6 in the morning, to go up until 8 in the morning. One person even in the group chat of mine is saying it's going to end roughly around 8 p.m., which is the time that the Heat's going to play, which is totally absurd. But in the end, it did not end that long. It actually ended very quickly. So I'll talk about that. So in the first period, Jalen Sheffield with the nice goal, with the assist from Aho and Nosen, which scores for Carolina 1-0. So then afterwards, after that goal, there was some wrist stops from Eric Stoll, who almost. There were a lot of opportunities in the first period, but Carolina was getting the betterment of it because they had more shots than Florida did in the first period. But in terms of that, there was a situation near the end. And I should say this too, in the first period too, after the Sheffield goal, there was a situation where Panthers scored a goal, and the challenge was offside, no goal. So the goal was disallowed there. But was it really offside though? By rule, you have to touch the puck over the blue line if the body is across, right? Is that how the rule is? Bennett was not touching the puck, and I feel like we were robbed a tie game. But nonetheless, it happened. All right. Now later in that period, there was another goal that was disallowed from offside from Carolina. So Carolina with the quick goal from Carolina to make it 2-0. Paul Maurice challenges, and then that was called offside. So at least the refs were consistent with the calls, right? So they were consistent with the goals, with the calls going offside. So near the end of it gets really chirpy, very chirpy near the end of the period. Tkachuk was involved. I believe it was Brett Burns that was also in the midst of it. So things were getting personal. Stahl was involved. Stahl was definitely involved with the fight with. It wasn't Mark Stahl. He would not fight his brother. It was had been Tkachuk, because Tkachuk was there. No, Tkachuk was fighting Brett Burns. It was Montour. Montour was fighting Jordan Stoll, and then they were going into the box for like for both of them called for roughing. So, and on top of all that, there was already a power play from Florida. Nonetheless, the period ended. Second period comes up. Much better performance by Florida. So there was a couple of penalties from Florida. Both were killed off. It was huge because we absolutely needed to get something going. Barkov was called for a hold that was killed off, but Barkov redeemed himself in 7 minutes and 43 seconds into the second period, and that has to be one of the most filthiest, disgusting, nastiest between the legs goal I've ever seen in my entire life. Barkov backhand between the legs, assisted by Josh Mahura. Oh my God, that was nasty. Barkov has the goal of the game. I'm sorry, that's just my opinion. I know I'm wearing a Matthew Tkachuk jersey, and we'll talk about that in a little while. So then afterwards, Carolina was looking to respond. They were looking for a response. Carolina was called for a high sticking on Lomberg. That was killed off. So afterwards, there was a save. By the way, Bobrovsky, once again, big performance from Bobrovsky, and we need him in the big way. Things got feisty again. Then we go to the third period. This is what playoffs is all about. Rivalry. Who wants it more? Clearly, Florida wants it more. So, we go to the third period. You could tell both teams are just superior and equal to each other, because both had good shot attempts, and it was a save after save. Bobrovsky makes greatest saves I've seen on the planet. One of them was a one-on-one. One of them was this to chuck it away, coming from the left side. I mean, it was beautiful. We could have really ended the game in the third period if Colin White there was a wide open side when with the Carolina goalie. I think it was Rata. The lane was open. Actually, the net was open. Goalie's right there. Here comes Colin White, and he misses it. So, literally, that could have put the game away right there in the third period, and Carolina could have put the game away right there. Gudas was called for a trip, and after Colin White miss, Gudas gets called for tripping, and there was no argument there. He clearly tripped the guy. That was killed off. So I'm good. So I was grateful for that. Burns and Tkachuk were going at it as well, especially the time in the penalty box. So there was no love lost for those two teams. And then when Carolina was going to try to win the game, goalie stopped from a Jacob Sullivan save was shot. So, and in overtime, yeah, another overtime, right? As if we didn't have any more overtimes already. Panthers looking to be 2-0 up in the playoffs against Carolina, of all teams, on the road, just like what they did against Toronto. And then there was a penalty. A minute 40 into the game, in overtime, Justbury, Kotkaniemi, I can't pronounce it, I'm sorry, was hooking against Josh Mahura. Only about 10 to 12 seconds later, guess who it was? And I'll give you a hint. He's the same dude that ended the game in Game 1 from the 4 overtime goal. It was Tkachuk. Matthew Tkachuk wins it again for Florida in Game 2. This time it was in 1 overtime, not 4 overtime. Tkachuk wins it for Florida, and guess what? We go home. Let's go home, baby, because we're up 2-0, and we go and protect home ice for 2-0 advantage against Carolina Hurricanes. It's one thing to win one game on the road. It's another to win both. Miami Heat's 2-0 victory in Boston was big enough, but this is even bigger. Now, it's urgency for both opposing teams, especially Carolina, because Carolina's going to have to come in angry in Sunrise. And Florida's just playing better on the road. Ever since that first Game 1 loss in Boston, they've been on an 8-game win streak on the road since. Now, what we need to do is protect home ice. Just like Miami Heat's going to protect home court tomorrow, especially tomorrow, we must do our part on the road. And we're going to go into the Stanley Cup Finals, just like the Heat. I'm going to go to the NBA Finals, but we cannot do that if we don't play as vigilant, enthusiastic, heart like we do on the road. If we do this, both teams, not one, but two, go to the finals. Let's get it done. We've never had this in our entire lives before. Let's make history in 2023. Summer of Miami. That's going to do it for this video, folks. If you liked this video, Hit that like button, subscribe for more content because Miami TVG has it back. And when he does, he'll be right there with the entertainment you deserve. Miami TVG, sign up, folks. Go Panthers. Good night, everybody. And thank you, Matthew Tkachuk.